The audacity hit me like a brick when I saw the first bulldozer tear into my land like Karen thought she could just waltz in and claim my family's legacy. By the time I arrived, 98 skeletal houses stood like mocking ghosts, her smug grin daring me to fight back. It started 6 months ago, when I, Daniel Harper, returned to my hometown of Willow Creek after a decade away. My grandfather's 50-acre plot, left to me in his will, was supposed to be my sanctuary, a quiet place to rebuild after years of city grind. I'd grown up running through its wild meadows, fishing in the creek, dreaming of the day I'd build a home there. But when I pulled up in my beat-up truck, the land wasn't mine anymore. Not according to Karen Voss. Karen was a local real estate vulture, the kind of woman who'd sell her own kids' lemonade stand for a profit. She was a walking caricature, loud, brash, and heavy-set, with a penchant for garish floral dresses that screamed, "I'm in charge." Her reputation preceded her. She'd bullied shopkeepers, berated waitresses, and once sued a neighbor for planting roses too close to her fence. Everyone in Willow Creek knew her, and nobody liked her. But nobody had ever taken her on. Until me. I found her that first day, standing in the middle of my land like she owned it, barking orders at a crew of exhausted workers. "Faster," she snapped, her voice cutting through the hum of machinery. "We're behind schedule, and I'm not paying you to sip coffee." She didn't see me at first, too busy waving her manicured claws at a stack of lumber. When I stepped forward, holding the faded deed to the land, her eyes narrowed. "Can I help you?" she sneered, her tone dripping with condescension, as if I were a stray dog wandering into her palace. "This is my land," I said, holding up the deed. "You're trespassing." She laughed a sharp, grating cackle that made my skin crawl. "Your land, honey. This plot's been abandoned for years. I bought it fair and square. Check the county records." She turned away, dismissing me like I was nothing. I wasn't stupid. I knew Karen's game. She'd built a small empire in Willow Creek by exploiting loopholes, forging signatures, and intimidating anyone who dared question her. The county records, as I discovered later that day, listed her as the owner. My grandfather's deed, the one I'd kept in a lockbox for years, was nowhere in their system. It didn't make sense. I'd paid taxes on the land every year, even from the city. But Karen had connections, a cousin in the assessor's office, a friend on the zoning board. She'd manipulated the system, and now my land was hers. The next morning, I drove to the county courthouse, the deed burning a hole in my pocket. The clerk, a nervous woman named Linda, avoided my eyes as she pulled up the records. "I'm sorry, Mr. Harper," she mumbled. "Ms. Voss filed a claim last year. Adverse possession." She said the land was abandoned. "Abandoned?" I nearly shouted. "I've paid taxes on it since 2015. Linda flinched. "You'd have to take it up with a lawyer. Or her." I wasn't rich. A lawyer would cost thousands. And Karen knew it. She'd banked on me giving up, walking away like everyone else she'd steamrolled. But this wasn't just land. It was my grandfather's dream. The place where he'd taught me to plant seeds, to listen to the wind, to value what's yours. I wasn't letting her win. I started digging. Days turned into weeks as I combed through public records, old tax receipts, and surveyor maps. I found neighbors who remembered my grandfather working the land, witnesses willing to testify it was never abandoned. I even tracked down a retired surveyor who'd mapped the property lines in the 90s. His testimony was gold, Karen's claim relied on a forged boundary adjustment that didn't match the original plat. Piece by piece, I built my case. Meanwhile, Karen didn't stop. She kept building 98 houses by the time I filed my lawsuit. 98. Shoddy, cookie-cutter homes thrown up overnight. Each one a slap in my face. She'd already sold a dozen to unsuspecting buyers, promising them affordable dream homes. When I confronted her again, this time with a lawyer named Sarah Nguyen at my side, Karen's smugness cracked. You think you can scare me with a piece of paper? She spat, jabbing a finger at my lawsuit. I've got buyers, permits, everything. You're wasting your time. Sarah, calm as steel, handed her the summons. We'll see you in court. MS. Voss. The trial was a circus. Karen strutted in like a queen, her lawyer a slick city type named Greg flashing a shark's grin. They painted me as a deadbeat, a drifter who'd neglected the land for years. Karen took the stand, her voice syrupy with fake sincerity. I saw an opportunity to bring affordable housing to Willow Creek, she said, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. This man abandoned his property. I'm the one who cared. I wanted to scream, but Sarah kept me grounded. We presented the deed, the tax records, the surveyor's testimony. We called witnesses old neighbors, the postman who delivered my tax bills, the judge, a no-nonsense woman named Margaret Holt, listened intently. When Karen's cousin from the assessor's office took the stand, he crumbled under cross-examination, admitting he'd expedited her claim without proper checks. The turning point came when we uncovered Karen's emails. A tech-savvy friend of mine, Jake, had managed to access her public-facing business account legally through a Freedom of Information request. The emails showed Karen bribing a zoning official, promising him a cut of her profits. She'd known the land wasn't hers. She'd planned to flip the houses, pocket millions, and disappear before anyone caught on. The courtroom went silent when Sarah read the emails aloud. Karen's face turned purple, her hands shaking as she gripped the table. The judge didn't blink. MS. Voss, she said, you've got a lot to answer for. The ruling came down like a hammer. The land was mine. Karen's claim was voided, her permits revoked. The 98 houses, illegal. She was ordered to demolish them at her own expense or face fines that would bankrupt her. The buyers she'd swindled were furious, filing their own lawsuits. Karen's empire was crumbling, and she had no one to blame but herself. But I didn't stop there. I saw an opportunity not to destroy, but to rebuild. The land was mine again, but those half-built houses were a problem. Demolition would cost a fortune, and the buyers, ordinary people who trusted Karen, were out thousands. So I made a deal. I'd finish the houses, bring them up to code, and rent them out at triple the market rate. The catch: Karen would pay for the renovations as part of her penalty. Every cent she'd schemed to make was now going into my pocket. The day I signed the first lease, Karen showed up at the property, her face a mask of rage. You think you're clever, she hissed, her floral dress flapping in the wind. You'll never pull this off. I smiled, holding up a lease agreement. I already have. Enjoy your new reality, Karen. She stormed off, her empire reduced to a cautionary tale. The buyers became tenants. The land became a community. And I became the landlord of a thriving development all on my terms. Willow Creek started to heal, and Karen's name became a synonym for greed gone wrong. I walk the land now, feeling my grandfather's presence in the wind, knowing I'd honored his legacy. Justice doesn't always feel good, but it feels right. The end.